Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here. In this video we're going to attempt to feed all of my reptiles.
It ain't no thing to do my thing, it's what I did the best. Yes. I copped that crib and bought 2 chains and then I hid the rest. And it's okay to do your thing, but just don't do the most. I put my friends in that old Benz and took that to the coast. It ain't no thing to do my thing, it's what I do the best. I fill my mattress, pay my taxes, then I blew the rest. And it's okay to do your thing, but just don't do the least. I quit my boss and cooked that sauce and fed that to the streets. Slide in the bed like a wet flow, already fried from the get-go. Alligators look like gecko, everything I do they echo. Big facts my bank on big man, my drip too.
Alright, before we do this, we're going to go back in time to see the prep that I did last night to get us set up for today. Okay, so we're going back in time essentially. I'm going to do a bit of prep just quickly before I start feeding things tomorrow. I have to defrost some rodents and I have to get some stuff ready for the lizards essentially. One thing I like to do is I really make sure that I feed up the bugs the day prior to them feed, just so they're nice and full and they've got some good nutrition inside of them as well. Something else that I do as well, which I'll show you shortly, is just kind of like a nifty way to catch wood roaches without having to kind of sift through tons of woody dust and all that sort of gross stuff. So just a little trick that I've kind of learnt to kind of keep my allergies at bay, because I hate the frass. My sinus and everything gets super blocked with the frass. So yeah, I'll show you that in a sec. But first, let's go and get some rodents and we'll chuck them in this little bucket just ready to defrost overnight. So I've just got this little old freezer in the laundry here. Since I don't have as many snakes and stuff as I used to have, it has turned partially into a, you know, food freezer for us. But we do have rodents in here as well for obviously the pythons when they need them. So first things first, get out a bunch of rats. And they're already in bags. If I'm going to leave them overnight, I tend to leave them in bags. I'm actually getting surprisingly low on rodents, so I might need to do an order soon. But yeah, also got some smaller mice and things that I'll feed for the greens. Little hatchy greens, that is. I call them hatchies, they're not hatchies anymore, they're like almost 2 years old. So anyway, we'll get those going as well, just in a spare little bag. Pop that in there. They'll start defrosting overnight. So as far as the bugs go, I'm just gonna feed them all tonight anyway. Usually I just do a mix of carrot and spinach. Doesn't really bother me what I feed them. I tend to feed a variety of things, but for this particular trick, like catching the woodies, I do prefer to do carrot. But I've got a ton of crickets and stuff kicking around too, so I'm just going to feed a bunch of stuffed spinach as well. Probably the mealworms as well. I did spinach the other night for them, so I might just do some carrots. So yeah, I'll prep a bunch of this up and we'll go and sort that out. All right, so welcome to my little tiny secret off-site bug shed of sorts. So I've got a light that I can turn on in there. I've got a couple of fish tanks and just random stuff happening in here. This is kind of like my little dingy man shed. But something that I've been working on is breeding some more bugs. So I've got I got mealworms going on in here. I've got where are we here? Woodies. Over here I've got a different generation of crickets, and yeah, these are potentially further like raise up cricket bins and stuff. Eventually the fish are probably going to go from in here and it's just going to solely be bugs essentially. But the trick that I wanted to show you, and I've got a couple of jars, oh, let me just get this down. I kind of also store like my outdoor sunning enclosures and stuff in here too, so they're just close by in a pinch. But the trick is super simple, and I know that probably heaps of people are catching their stuff this way anyway. I just get some like old pasta sauce jars, you know, you're bound to have one of these kicking around at some point or another. Chunk of carrot, nothing fancy, drop it in that jar. These jars, they do have kind of like a lip of Vaseline just around the inside of them, so the roaches can't climb up and out of them, so it just does prevent that. Basically I just leave this in there overnight, so then as the roaches are coming and having a feed, they're getting trapped in the jar. Next day, which is usually the morning for me, because you know I like to feed lizards in the morning, I feed these out to the lizards in the morning, and whatever I don't use or don't need, or sizes or whatever, I can just dump straight back into the colony and it just kicks on. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to set up a couple of these, because tomorrow we'll probably feed out like a variety of things in general. And yeah, we'll set it up and dump it into one of these colonies. I'll give you a quick look now. So yeah, super simple. Just a piece of fresh fruit or carrot or whatever you're going to feed out that day. Pop it into there. These guys will go nuts for it. They'll go in there, especially when I'm not buggering around with them. And yeah, but otherwise they've got this big jar of food over here as well. They've also got my little tricky wick. So this is a little moisture wick as well. So nothing crazy, just a jar with a bit of rope into it. But that just means they've got moisture rather than just having to feed the wet food. So first cranky critter to feed on the list, the little fella. Not quite a reptile, but definitely has the appetite of some of the lizards that we've got here. So first animals on the list here are the rough scale pythons. Now, these guys are awesome snakes, but I don't trust feeding them in the same tank anymore, because I have caught one of them deciding to try to have a little bit of a nibble on the other one just because he hadn't finished his wrap yet. So what I do is I simply just get a tub. It's just like a little container that I've got here, and I'll separate them. One of them goes in the tub to have a meal, the other one has a meal in the cage. I don't really care which one's which. And then once they've both finished their meals, the one from the tub can go back into the cage. So the first thing I've got to do is get these guys out, or one of these guys out. Just chosen this one for today. No particular rhyme or reason. Oops. I've got to be a little bit cautious too, because I do have the rodents in the room here and these guys can be pretty food responsive. So, okay, so they're separated now. So I've just got this nice little wiener rat. Hopefully they're hungry. Whoop. Don't fall, don't fall. Pretty keen, that's for sure. Well, there you go. This roughy's hooking in. No doubt it'll be there for a while trying to chomp that down. So yeah, that one's going to be happy eating away in here. And then the other one is down in this tub, and we'll give it a feed there. So yeah, similar sort of scenario. I'll just unclip this box like such. We'll grab a rat and quickly chuck it in while the... Can be a little bit difficult just for them getting in and out of the boxes. You know, they're good little snakes and they love to be able to stick their noses out, so I try to be pretty quick, but hopefully once he smells what's in here, he should get pretty fired up and want to take a chomp. It's definitely curious. You can see the little tongue going. Now, usually in this sort of circumstance, I'd probably just leave the snake be. It'll discover the meal by itself and it's going to be fine. But because we've got the camera on, it's probably not a bad idea that I actually give it a little bit of a wiggle and a trigger. So hopefully, but there we go. Just to get that little feeding response happening, and hopefully that triggers it into eating fine from there. So next from there is Midori. Now, for those keen-eyed viewers out there, you'll probably notice that Midori's in the larger of the two green tree python larger tanks at the moment. And that's simply because I don't think she's actually going to produce for me this year. I'm pretty confident that she didn't go through with the goods. She seemed to go through some follicle development, but that was about it. So anyway, being later in the season, I'm pretty sure that I've done the right thing and called it. And for that circumstance, I'm now giving her the bigger vivarium to be in, just because she is the larger of the two snakes. You know, Wasabi's pretty small compared to her. Hopefully she's pretty keen on a feed. She's usually pretty good for it. But I have not long switched these vivariums around as well, so she may be a little bit kind of just cautious, essentially. But generally this snake is pretty good for having a feed. Worst case, somebody else just scores an extra meal. Very much unlike Midori, but you know, these things happen. As I said, I have just really rearranged her life. Essentially, she's been in this box for only a few days now. She might just be a little bit of all sorts for the next couple of weeks while she kind of adjusts to life in this larger vivarium down here. What I might even do is I might actually just leave that rat right there, so if she is comfortable with it, she can take it, and if not, then I'll just remove that in a few hours time. So in truth, it could be a pretty similar sort of scenario for Wasabi here, just because he's been in this enclosure a lot, but in saying that, he hasn't eaten in this enclosure. I have just got a slightly smaller rat for him too, because I'm not trying to grow him up too much, but we'll see what he ends up doing. He was kind of looking like he was hunting in here the other night, so come on, mate, come on. He's definitely keen. Here we are. He's a good little snake, this fella. Yeah, as I said, Midori could just be in all sorts, from a bit of a relocation, whereas, you know, Wasabi's pretty used to being pulled in and pulled out of this enclosure, so I'm not totally surprised that he's actually more comfortable eating in here. They're good snakes. So we got a couple more children's pythons in this room to go, and then we'll go feed some critters elsewhere. We'll probably blast through all the snakes first, and then we'll get onto some bugs and some lizards. So definitely not something that I'd usually do, but for the sake of the video, I'll pull the tubs out. But yeah, these are the children's pythons. We'll just blast through these guys quickly, give them a meal. This is the female children's python. These guys are probably going to be moving on, to be honest. I like these snakes, but Finny needs some more room, and I'm going to need room to grow up my greens that I love. So as good as snakes as these are, sometimes you just can't keep everything. I don't know what's wrong with my snakes today. They're definitely not wanting to eat. Maybe it's just the fact that they've been drawn out into the light because they're not really used to that. It always seems to be my way. As soon as I want to go and film something, such as like a feeding video or something, I'll have animals that aren't hungry. This is just part of the frustration of trying to film things. Oh, there you go. All right, well, I'm going to leave her a wrap there. And if she wants to eat it, she can eat it. If not, I'm going to come back in a couple of hours and check on everybody and pick things up. So I actually think it's going to be a bit of a different story with this male, only because the last few times that I've actually tried to, you know, clean water bowls or do things around his enclosure, he's been pretty curious. So we'll see how we go here. See if he happens to be interested. Looking good so far. Come on, mate, I want you right out. Come on. Whoa. There we are. So he'll happily be eating his meal away from there, and happy days. That's the snakes in this room done. So my oldest python resident, not necessarily oldest by years, but as in oldest by years I've had him, is Severus here. I'm going to see if he's keen for a feed. He usually is. I love having this guy in his terrarium now, or his vivarium. He's such an awesome python. So this is a Stimson's python, or now children's python, depending if you read into the literature too much. He's a great snake. The only thing I do try to do while he's in this viv is just so he doesn't get sand and stuff caught on the rodent, is once he's kind of got his prize, I try to just pop him up there, just in hopes of him kind of being able to keep his rat a little bit cleaner. Doesn't always work, but you know, nobody's exactly out there in the wild sweeping dirt off their rodents and things either. So yeah, but that's Sevy having a good little meal. One of the main reasons that I'm probably going to move the children's pythons on is just the fact that I just can't give them something like this. I really want to be able to give them something that's actually, you know, not only aesthetically pleasing to myself, but also just nicer. You know, it's as I kind of grow as a keeper and a person, I'm really moving away from like long-term residence in racks. That's just something that I just don't believe in anymore. You know, each to their own at the end of the day, but I'd rather have a snake that feels more comfortable in something that's a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer, albeit, you know, this does still need a lot of work. There's a lot of things that I've got in my mind as to how to improve this, but that being said, you know, it's nice being able to see more natural habitats, and you know what, it's just nice to be able to see my snake. I get to see Sevy so much more than I used to, and you know, for years and years and years I never got to see what his behaviour was really like because he was inside a tub. And nowadays I get to watch this little dude do his thing in this nice little environment. So these guys are usually pretty good at eating for me. I believe the saying is don't work with children or animals as far as show business goes. I believe the saying is don't work with children or animals as far as show business goes. These guys are usually pretty good little eaters. Most of them are shed recently as well, so oops, there we go. So they should be pretty fiery, pretty hungry. We do have another one in this tank. He's kind of right over in the back corner, so I'll just try to zoom it in there for you. These guys love these boxes. I've just left them to their own devices to absolutely go wild. As you can see, they've grown in pretty well. So there's another couple of young greens in this tank here. Again, usually pretty good eaters. So I don't have to spend too much time mucking around with these guys. Happy days. These guys will chomp down on these and give them a good little meal. Alright, so we'll go outside and we'll grab our bugs that we're gonna need. Well, at least our roaches. Whoa. Whack this light on, and hopefully my little trap that I set up last night will have paid off. It certainly worked. Caught a stack of roaches in there. Now what I might do is I might actually just transfer some into this other tub, because we're not going to need all of these guys. So I'll let a whole bunch of them out. It's an easy way to catch roaches. I think I've actually caught too many and they've actually smothered themselves a little bit. That's never been a problem for me before, but it's good to kind of know that you can overdo it. So there you go. Finnan's supposed to be having a nap. Hey, don't you bite me. But I thought I'd quickly, just before he goes to sleep, come and feed the rest of the reptiles that are out here in this room, just so I can kind of go and hide in the lizard room afterwards and not be so noisy. Can't get up, can you? Yeah. So I thought I'd just give these guys some cockroaches today. So I'll probably keep the adult ones as best as possible and might just feed out a few of them. But wood roaches are really good for actually just whacking some weight onto these animals. The only thing that I don't like about wood roaches is the fact that they go and hide real easy, and calcium powder doesn't stick to them the way that I really wish it would. Give them a few more each. Guys are always pretty ferocious. Might see if these guys want some earthworms later as well. We'll have to see how they go. They might just fill up on these. Alright, so while we got the cockroaches out, we'll give Tiddalik some cockroaches as well. She absolutely loves these guys, so she's a good eater, this one. She definitely does not mind a little bit of tucker, so usually I give her like 2 or 3 of these larger roaches, and that'll probably do her for about 4 or 5 days. I don't really feed her a hell of a lot. There's no need for frogs to be morbidly obese in captivity. But she's kind of got a nice healthy weight going on to her. There we go. That'll probably do her for the time being. She's such a beautiful little frog. But yeah, she's an absolute little guts too. So this is one of the trios of Gillini. This female right here, you can see she's absolutely brimming with eggs at the moment. She's definitely gonna pop any day now. Big Randy Randall here. He's still keen on a couple of bugs. Oh, she is too. All right. I was going to do mainly crickets for these guys today, but if they're keen on a roach, I might just give them a roach. We can always come back and give them a cricket. Oh, she looks like she's been digging. The other one that's up there, she actually looks like she's been digging. So maybe we've got a couple of girls going at the moment. That'd be pretty exciting. She just looks like she's got sand all over her head. Her belly still looks pretty big though, so I don't know if she's actually laid anything just yet, but we could always have a quick gander. Nothing's stopping us, right? Quick little look. Quick little... Oh, watch out guys. They're all sitting on the egg box. Nah, nothing yet. That's all right, she's probably a day or 2 away then. Just wait for it to look nice and flat. Well, Billy's telling me he's starving, so I will give him some roaches. I was planning to do roaches for him and Sonic, because they've been kind of having a few crickets and bits and pieces lately. Wait. Hey. Billy almost always gets out of his tank to try to have a bit of a feed. He's a funny old lizard, this guy. Come on, why don't you climb up here? Show everyone you climb. Oop. Drop that one. I'll give you another. He's a solid boy, this guy. Give you one more. I try not to overfeed him too, just because you know, obviously being in captivity, they can be sort of sedentary, so I don't want to try to overfeed these guys by any means. All right, we got old man Sonic here. Come on, mate. He's usually a pretty good little eater. I don't usually have any issues with dragons, to be honest. Sometimes, depending on the time of year, snakes and stuff can be a bit funny. Sometimes the monitors can be a bit funny. Sometimes they just get a bit, I find they get like a bit bored. So if you're feeding them just the one type of food all the time, they can get a little bit kind of like, nah, I'll eat it, but not overly keen. But yeah, dragons are pretty good. Not going to overdo it with him today either, because I think if I'm not mistaken, I've got some strawberries that I might kind of give a couple of animals a bit of treat on strawberries. These strawberries are kind of like, I'd say going on the way out for as far as human consumption goes, but I'm sure some of the reptiles here will still love them nonetheless. So over in these tubs here at the moment, I've just got some crickets, probably about a medium size, thereabouts. And they're kind of like a couple of little colonies that I was setting up for breeding. So nothing too fancy with them, but I'm gonna get into a few of these, I reckon, and collect some of them. And then from there we can do a bit of a cricket feed as well. For a lot of the smaller guys in particular, that's a lot of crickets. Just take out my little waterer. So I usually find with crickets, the best thing for me to do is to take all the cardboard out, just like I've done there, get actually like a cardboard tube, and I'll just pop that in there, and then they, of course, they'll kind of go, oh yeah, it's cover or whatever. They all freak out and they go into there, and then from there I can shake the cardboard tube into a container full of calcium powder, and from there I can just feed out the crickets as I need to. Got a bunch of these guys in there now. There you go. That was a nice easy catch. I've still got some calcium powder in here, so I'll give these guys a little bit of a headache. Get them dusted up, and we'll start feeding them out ASAP so they don't really suffocate in the jar either. So this tank here's got 3 gillini in it. These guys have produced clutches for me already this year, so I've got 2 clutches out of these girls, as in 1 clutch each. I'm just trying to get some weight back onto them. So I'm probably gonna overfeed this tank with crickets, only because I want these girls to really just be smashing these down over the course of the day. Might even add some more calcium powder into this, to be honest. Definitely some bug chasing going on here. There we go. You guys can go nuts. Being good girls. It's time to refuel. I love how the male's just being lazy and just could not be bothered right now. He's just going, oh no, I've got the weight. I don't need to do anything. I'll let them have it. Just smashing them down. This girl here, she's the one that actually just laid the other day. So if you saw the earlier video of me collecting eggs, that's the one that actually laid. And then there's another female she's over in this hollow up here. She's caught a few already, but she tends to be a little bit shyer. Good girl. There she is. She just popped her head out up the top. Smashing them down. So she's smashing them down. This girl also looks like there's a chance she might have a couple of eggs inside of her, but I think she's the one that's actually closer to laying. She's got all the dirt and stuff over her face, whereas this girl looks like she's gearing up for a big clutch by the looks of it. So it should be exciting. I should have a bunch of Gillini available this year, which will be really exciting. I'm gonna try to tongue feed the Tristis. They're usually pretty good for it, but my animals are all proving me wrong today, so, you know, I think they get a bit shy when I'm talking around the camera and stuff, to be honest. Honestly, I swear, every time I go to film a feeding video, I dread it because of this exact reason. They all go shy. It's like having this camera in front of them when I'm feeding them is just like a no-go zone for my animals. It's so weird. Otherwise, I do way more feeding videos, but it just seems to be kind of like a trigger with them where they just don't want to come out and perform for camera. I'm just going to pour some in, and hopefully I can at least get some B-roll for you. We're just going to do a whole stack, so hopefully that livens them up. We'll see what happens. The Gillini over here though, these guys are ready and rearing, so we're going to see these guys eat for sure. These guys aren't shy. The little young guys, they couldn't care less about the camera. Alright, first up, the little Tanamais. Both of them are down on the ground here. We'll try to get them up. Try to get them up. Come on. Want a cricket? 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 Here you go. I love this pair in particular. They're very outgoing. Very cool little lizards. Come on. Want another one? Okay. I think one of them's just come down on the ground, or just about to come down on the ground. Might even just pour a few in, let them go nuts. We'll see what we can capture. Some aerobatics going on out there. Now I've got a face full of sand. They don't muck around though, I'll tell you what, they can pump down some food when they want to. We'll do these guys next door as well, hey, while we're here. There's no doubt these guys are going to be keen on a few crickets. Everything goes nuts for crickets here, generally. They're all getting into the spinifex. Come on, mate. Come on. Come join the party. Oh yeah. Definitely got a few enclosures to clean at the moment. There's no doubt on that. But right now, I've kind of got a limited time frame today, so more important was to get a little bit of food in. And then tomorrow is cleaning day, because tomorrow is a heat off day, so I only run heat for 6 days a week, and then I have Thursdays are kind of like my day off with heating. So I kind of use Thursdays, you know, if I get the time, depending if I'm working or whatever I'm doing, I kind of use Thursdays as like a cleaning day because I'm not feeding. So tomorrow I'll be coming in, giving all of these a bit of a spruce up, and yeah, should be some happy lizards ready for the weekend essentially. And I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely dying in here at the moment. I've got the door closed and things are just hot. We're gonna try to see if we can get the Kimbos on camera, because these guys can be a bit hit and miss sometimes, but sometimes crickets get them going, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get a bit wigged out about things going on in here, as per a lot of the animals apparently today. Usually she'd chase that down. Wonder why you're not today. Does make me think that potentially she might... Oh, there we go. A little bit of an attempt at least. Yeah. Hey, nailed it. I reckon she's going to come into a cycle soon. So it's a good thing that I've actually got the male in here now. So hopefully I can have an attempt, at least an attempt at getting some Kimbos this year. That'd be cool. The male's still quite shy as far as food's concerned though. Whereas the female, of course, has been here for forever with me. So the male, you can't see it, but he's actually hiding down in this crack over here at the moment. I'm trying to see if he can, you know, see the food, and if he wants to come out, he can come out. But, oh, here we go. Come on, mate. Come on. Yeah, okay. Give him one. See if that kind of just pokes him out a little bit. Means I might be able to get some more into him. You still eating it? Yeah, he's still got it in his mouth. I love how these Kimbos in particular, they're like little arrowheads. They just fire away and find these bugs so quickly. You can see how their snouts are so useful for, you know, in the wild when they go to get little lizards and things out of holes. So that's what they're really made for. They're amazing goannas. Really are. I can hear the male chomping down on a cricket as we speak. That's good. Happy he's eating. Definitely trying to feed up this female at the moment. She went through that last stage of egg laying and got pretty skinny afterwards. Come on, mate. I want to show you to the world because you're a stunning looking lizard. Maybe if I throw a couple in there, he might poke his head out a bit further, rather than being the secretive little fella he is. No, well. Sometimes you win some and you lose some, you know, like animals are different. They're different every day, so gotta take the good with the bad, so to speak. Not that it's bad, you know, these guys are just a bit secretive today. Nothing wrong with that. It's just what they're choosing to do. You know, everyone's got different personalities. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pop a stack of crickets in here. They can just let loose over the day. They can go and find them. And yeah, enjoy the rest of their warm Wednesday. So this tank here, we've got our little young black-headed monitors. These guys are usually pretty good at coming out for a feed, and they always seem to be pretty hungry. So hopefully I can at least catch these guys on camera getting a feed for you. Hey, one cricket down. Gotta leave some for your mate as well. I have to dump a few in there now, just to try to encourage the other fella out. Don't know where he went. Might have gone over the back there somewhere. Oh, there he is. He's caught himself one too. Nice. Yeah, I don't mind putting a few crickets in with these guys because they tend to burn through them pretty quick as far as their metabolisms go. Biffo. Hey, break it up. Gotta let him have his meal. He won it fair and square. So this little guy is one of my Egernia depressor. He's certainly not shy about food at all, which most Egernia aren't. He's an awesome little lizard, and he does have a counterpart next door to him. So I'll just feed this one up, and then hopefully we'll get her some food as well. Alright. Oh, while he's doing that, the blackheads are out and hunting the big blackheads. So I'll quickly flip the camera around, we'll have a quick gander down here. Oh, they were out hunting. Then I think I made them all nice and shy. Well, at least we finally got to see a glimpse at them. Don't bite me. These guys are pretty fiery, so wouldn't be surprised if they decided to try to taste me as well. Not opposed to human flesh, are you? Yeah. Just want some straight from the jar. There you go. How's that? Serving it up to you on a platter, mate. No. See what you're doing there? You're looking at my thumb. Beautiful lizards, really are. Well, we'll see if we can see this other little depressor. I don't know our likelihood just because she is a lot more secretive, but she might come out. She might. She's seen the food. Come on. Here we go. Come on, come on, come on. Don't let him get away. She's a beautiful little animal. She's very light in colour compared to the other guy. She's just got a bit more of that sort of like light colours around her back. I am really hoping to introduce these together, and I am hoping that these guys are a pair because they are virtually this like skink Gillini. So, you know, kind of in that wheelhouse of what I like, but being a live bearing species and just something a little bit different, you know, it just keeps a little bit of variety kicking around. All right, now we're going to wrap it up pretty much with a few different sorts of things that I got going on here for a few animals. Now, something I want you to take into consideration is what you're seeing is a snapshot of the diet that I give my animals, right? So whilst you're sitting here and you're probably going, that's horrible, that's a full plate of fruit. Yeah, it is. This is something that I very rarely give a few of my animals here, including my bearded dragon, my shingleback skink, and my Cunninghams and my blotch blue tongue. This is just something that I can kind of round out a bit of a diet with. So, as I said, you're seeing a snapshot of what these animals actually get in kind of like a day-to-day basis. And it's just something that I have on hand that... Watch your feet, Sonic. Oh, he's not going to move. Yeah, so what you're seeing is essentially like a snapshot, right? It's not something that these guys get all the time by any means. You know, Sonic gets a pretty varied diet. He's probably one of the animals here that does get a most varied diet just because of his needs, being a bit of an omnivore. So he gets a variety of bugs as well as salads and a little bit of fruit occasionally. So, you know, these strawberries, for example, they're essentially on their way out. They're a little bit soft, a little bit squishy. Nothing wrong with them, just a little bit overripe. And, you know, my son's not going to eat them, I'm not going to eat them. I don't want it to go to waste. So this little guy can enjoy a little bit of it. Do you want that? You don't have to have it. Want a blueberry instead. That's a bit of a treat. Yep. He'll probably eat it off the ground there now that he's seen it. So little Acorn here, the little shingleback skink, he does tend to get things like this a little bit more frequently than what Sonic does. But as I say, it's not an all the time food. Obviously the sugars in these fruits and stuff like that, there's no need for a high amount of sugar in any sort of diet, including ours really. But you know, you get some added benefits, you get some antioxidants and things like that in the blueberries, and you know, some metabolic moisture and stuff like that as well, including in the strawberries. This little fella's just waking up a little bit now, so hopefully he'll take a little swipe here and hopefully grab himself a little bit of a treat. If not, usually what happens is I walk away and I come back to an empty bowl, because he's probably one of my shyer animals out of the lot that I've got here. But I'm hoping that at least these nice sweet smells for him are a little bit more intriguing. Or not. Where are you going? Ah. That'd be right. That's the theme of today, isn't it? It's because I'm pointing this thing in your face, isn't it? Here we go. Come on. Yes. Good lad. This is more like you. This is a lot more like you. Usually it's more like you to polish off a plate like this in a few minutes. You can see he's definitely picking out the blueberries, isn't he? Now we're getting into some strawberries. Well done, bud. Well done. Probably one of my favourite, most unique lizards in Australia. The old shingleback lizard, eh? The old bobtail. Pinecone, stumpy tail, sleepy lizard. Gosh, got so many nicknames over here. Well, I'm glad you at least ate some of your brekkie, mate. See you later. So, last and not least is the blotch bluey and the Cunningham's outside. It is super windy outside at the moment, so what I'll probably do is I'll probably pop some food in, try to grab some footage, but I'll probably kill the audio, to be honest. It's blowing a bit of a gale, so yeah, the audio is going to be pretty average. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It is just the honest truth. Sometimes animals eat, sometimes they don't. It's just like us. Sometimes we're hungry, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we don't want to eat this and we want to eat that instead. You know, these kind of things go on. And of course, with me pointing a camera in animals' faces, sometimes they're not a bit too used to it, especially when they're eating. I don't tend to do like a lot of feeding videos, so they're not really set up for that, so to speak. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the video regardless, and if you did, make sure to drop it a like and a comment down below. That helps me out heaps. And if you did want to go that next step, you can always check me out over on Teespring and grab yourself some Beaches Scaly Beast merch, or you can go that next step further and go and support me on Patreon and get early access to videos and a few other bits and bobs as well along the way. Alright, with that spiel out of the way, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.